I'd like to welcome everyone to our meeting this evening. We will start with the pledge to the flag by Councilwoman Kerr.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brendan, can you call the roll, please?
Councilman Blaisdell.
Present.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Present.
Councilman Froelich.
Present.
Councilman Zuxton.
Present.
Supervisor Gillette.
Present. Before we begin tonight, I got an email yesterday from our county health commissioner, and we had another Milton resident lose their life to COVID yesterday. She was a 79-year-old woman. Obviously, information is not available to who she was, but our condolences as a board and personally as a supervisor go out to this woman and her family. Again, I'm going to respectfully ask that our residents, according to our signs, put on a mask when they come in here. This is one thing we can do that will help get us through this, so thank you. First up is a presentation by the Historic Structures Committee for their annual award. Karen? Yep. One of those, just get real close to it, that's all. It was working a second ago.
I would like to, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I'd like to have David and Linda McConnell come forward. Okay, they are the owners of 520 Route 29, and this year's Heritage Award is going to them for their home. The Historic Structures and Places Committee is presenting the annual Heritage Award, and the award is given to homeowners of a historic home that has endured in the town, and the owners have maintained the historic character of the home. The home has a very interesting story. In doing research on this, I could only find that an actual house on the property as early as 1838. The property was there and was passed down from 1791 or 2 when the Cateros patent was in that time. But an actual house on the property did not exist until about 1838. But they kept selling the property from guy to guy. The property was owned at that time by a guy by the name of Otis Crandall, who was a World War, he wasn't a World War anything. He was a War of 1812 veteran. He served as a private under Captain John Davenport's company and the New York militia. He raised 12 children and he had lived there for 17 years. Before moving to Illinois, why he did I couldn't find out. But he moved there in 1860 and died there in 1863. And he was brought back to Sanitary to be buried with the rest of his family, which is kind of interesting. Several owners later, in 1890, the property and house was sold to William J. Humans, who was a doctor. He and his brother Edward Human both owned property in North Milton, and they both grew up there. However, the roots of that family go back to actually Westchester County, New York, like in White Plains area. Edward was a doctor also, but he lost his eyesight at the age of 13. He was fascinated with the world of science and began publishing a periodical that has highlighted the most up-and-coming advances in science. And in 1872, William, the brother, gave up his medical practice in Minnesota to assist his brother Edward in publishing this magazine called Popular Science Monthly, which still exists today as Popular Science. So they started that. And the brother William assisted his brother in editing because he couldn't see. Sister Eliza did most of the proofreading and research. They were all very bright people. They went to Harvard and Yale and all kinds of prestigious universities. And how he did it, and he would lecture, Edward would lecture all over the country back in the 1870s. How do you do that? Anyway. Edward died in 1887, and William became editor-in-chief until 1900. Most of the work of the magazine was done in New York City, despite them having homes here in North Milton, which they kept. It is estimated that the large barn behind the house was added around 1900. William's son, Vincent, took over the property when his father died in 1901. He too was a physician, and he spent a lot of his time in New York City and Westchester County, where the Newman's family had originated from. The 1900 census, his occupation was listed as literature editing, which seems logical that he took over for his father editing the journal. Vincent died in 1927 of pneumonia in Saratoga, and he's buried in the Bronx. Vincent's home was cared for in his absence by Ernest and Grace Horse, who eventually became owners of the property in 1947. It was Linda's grandparents, Ernest and Grace, who were the caretakers of the property, because these guys were back and forth to New York City all the time. They need someone to take care of it. So being that Ernest and Grace had been living there a long time, their sons, Roger and Stanley, her dad, purchased the house for Ernest and Grace. So then the home passed to her parents, Stanley and Edith Cottrell Barbs. After her mother died in 1998, Linda and David purchased the home. Congratulations to Linda and David McConnell for being this year's recipient of the Town of Milton's Heritage Award. This is the Heritage Award.
So on behalf of the Town of Milton and our Heritage, on behalf of the town and our Heritage Committee, I'm very pleased to present this award to you, and thank you for doing your part in Milton. Thank you.
I also have for them a book that encompasses all the research and all the history of the Newman brothers and their son, and some of genealogy of your family, as well as the early families that I didn't mention. So that's for you. You're welcome. Being I need 3 hands, this goes up in our office, in my office. And this one is full. And, well, yeah, you can kind of move it up. They're heavy.
Yes.
And we have this year's recipients, David and Linda, listed on here for this year. And so when we get back into town hall, this will go up on my wall in my office. So there you have it. And these are the instructions. Okay, so that can slide right in there. There you go.
Thank you
All
very
yours.
much.
You're very welcome. Take this.
Thank you for all your work.
Very welcome. It's in there. It's in there.
Thank
Yeah, you're
you,
welcome.
everybody.
Thank you. Next up is a public hearing for local law 4 of 2021, chapter 133, Unsafe Abandoned Properties and Structures Law. If anyone would like to speak, please raise your hand. Mr. O'Leonard.
I would just like to know the reason that we are having this public hearing for unsafe abandoned properties and structures, what precipitated this, and what is it all about? I'm not familiar with it.
According to our building department, Mr. Lewis, we have several properties in the town that are not being kept up, and before it becomes an epidemic, we'd like to be able to come up with some legislation that will allow the town to do certain things to these properties before they become so run down that they require, more work than the town's willing to do. Well, seeing none, I will close the public comment. Thank you very much. Next up is a presentation by Spectrum for our data and telecommunications needs. Oh, I'm sorry, Pam, just 1 second. I didn't see there was a hand up. Let me ask if this person is commenting on the public comment for the unsafe property. Well, I didn't see it, so I'll open it up for just a second here if it's for that. Ms. Martinez?
Yes, fine, I'm good, Bobby, how are you?
Good. Is your comment about the abandoned
No, I
properties?
was just able to join, so I would like to know when I'm able to.
What, during public comment, it'll be our next section. I will call in. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, ma'am.
Oh, no problem, thank you. My name is, sorry.
Put it right, you have to be right next to it.
Okay. Is it working?
That's better.
Okay. My name is Cassidy. I'm here on behalf of Spectrum. I have been working with Dave and Jeff. We did a more deep dive into the needs for running a dedicated fiber to the town so we can have a more dedicated and secure internet access rather than the coax that right now is best case and shared publicly with residences and things like that. So it's a little less secure for everything with the town. Your handouts that you have has a product brief of each portion of the proposal. So if you have any questions on anything specifically, just let me know. The dedicated internet access that is being proposed would also have a next-gen Meraki firewall that would be protecting the internet access out to the world. It would come with a block of 5 static IPs with 32 unified communication and Cisco phones for your phone system. And that would include unlimited usage of voice with an auto attendant for the town. This is an instead of the current cost, not addition to. So it's not a fully additional cost, it's a rip and replace of your current network that you have now, which is your current phone, your monthly and yearly expenses of having an IT vendor and some other things there. And do you want to say something about the fiber specifically?
Sure. I mean, essentially, I guess the motivation, the majority of the motivation in moving to a fiber circuit is reliability as well as time to resolution. The coax service through Spectrum is a best effort type of thing. If there are any technical difficulties, they schedule a truck roll to come out and fix it. That can be anywhere from 2 to 3 days. The service level agreements with the fiber stuff is usually within a 4-hour window or that day. So with the type of services that the town provides, they need that type of reliability, I guess.
Thank you.
And did you guys have any specific questions on the network proposal? Or did you want me to give any more deeper dive into any of the parts. It's internet access with a firewall and a phone system. It's all fully managed with a co-manageable portal that Dave and Jeff will have access to. The phone system itself will have a portal that all users will have access to be able to have control over their extension, their voicemail, things like that, and it's an updated phone system for the town.
Go ahead, John.
I have a couple questions. As I see here, you're looking at 32 phones?
So,
And
yep, and we did put the per phone number just because that was the initial kind of rough
Yes.
idea count that Dave and I discussed, but that could go up or down, and that would just change the per number, but I can do that per cost. You know, if we drop down to 30 or to 25 or something like that, you know, it would just change it by that quantity number for the total
Okay.
cost.
And when I look at this system, and maybe Dave, you can answer it, what do we currently pay for the services we get?
So we're on
Microphone, Dave,
Microphone?
please.
an annual basis, we're somewhere in the range of 12 grand, but we're paying 3 different service providers currently, where this proposal eliminates the need for 2. It does cost more, but it is a much better solution for this type of environment. I think we've been operating on a data network that you would commonly find in a residential household, whereas it just isn't, or I don't know if it's sufficient to meet the needs of a workforce of this size for approximately a $7 million operation on an annual basis. This is supposed to be more of like an introductory type proposal that you guys will have the opportunity to review throughout the budget development process. This isn't anything that we're putting the proposal up to you guys for any immediate action. It's more of a, let's get it out there, let's look to see what the benefits of this solution are, and if it makes sense when we can can consider this proposal throughout the budget development process.
Now, as an introductory proposal, how long does that last, I guess? How long before we get to full charge?
So this is the cost of the 36-month term.
Okay.
After the 36-month term, so month 37, it actually just changes to a month-to-month basis at the same rate. So that price does not go up. At month 37, we have the ability to renew to a new contract. The only thing that would happen is the price would go down. You would never see this rate increase. It would only decrease if we renegotiate to basically put you back in term. So after the 36 months, it either stays that or decreases for the following year 4.
And one last question. You're supplying the fiber optics to the building, the hardware as it comes into the building, and all the drops to get out to the phones?
Exactly, yep, so we did surveys, we put everything through our financing, and I was able to get approval to cover the full construction of running the fiber to you, as well as the installation and the configuration of all of the equipment, so there would be no capital expense. And that's another cost savings in regards to the initial capital expense, but also every 3 to 5 years, usually you have to replace equipment as it goes end of life, and you have all of those costs every 3 to 5 years that you have to budget. This firewall It's included in the monthly for fully managed, we take care of maintenance, we take care of licensing, and every 3 to 5 years, as that equipment goes end of life, we come in and we just replace it with a new firewall, so you don't have that expense as a capital, it's just worked into the operational expense, so it helps with that budget as well.
And lastly, you're providing the phone drops, are you providing computer drops also?
Yeah, so we do two drops at every outlet, so we do a data and a phone drop. They're essentially identical because it's a VoIP, but we do 2 lines at each drop, and that is part of, that inside wiring is included in this as well at no cost.
Thank you.
I have one question. I saw 32 drops. Does that include the community center?
This is for 503 Geyser Road.
Okay.
This is for fiber optics in the town hall.
I could do a survey and run it to the community center though, and just, I could probably do the same per line drop and add that in, so I can get that address from, well, I can get the address.
That would be good for us to have. Thank you.
For sure, yep.
Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. And my card is in there, so if any of you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
I have a quick question. How long do we have to, until, and I don't know if you can answer it, it's more on our construction project. How long do we have before we have to make a decision on this?
Jen?
Jen, when should this wiring go in? You know, at what step in your process?
Okay, so if the construction project stays on schedule as we have proposed and it's awarded tonight, we do anticipate construction being complete by the end of the year. So this system would have to be approved before you get your staff back in the building. So, you know, it's quickly approaching. So, yeah.
I guess more importantly, how long is your construction schedule?
So if you, I can usually, especially if you have a specific timeline, so a lot of times if we are working with another project kind of coincide, which happens a lot, we will work with our project management group to put in specific dates, and then we'll follow those dates. So usually like a 60 to 90 day window is needed, but we can usually kind of fit that in because most of the stuff we do have already. The biggest hurdle is getting equipment, but a lot of that we do have on site. I would say, yeah, one of the things too though is if you were to decide on it and we were to move it forward in regards to processing and getting things scheduled with construction, once everything goes, the final date for the end of the project and then everything goes billing activated, that's when the contract goes into effect. So if you were to make a decision and then something were to change, you can always pull it. It's the best way to say, if you have like time sensitivity, I always think make the decision, and then if you need to change anything, you can always do that before everything was activated.
Yeah, and more importantly is getting the wiring done, which is, they don't have to wait on equipment for that. So if we get in and get that done, then they can work on closing up ceilings and things like that, so. It's doable, let's put it that way.
Jen will just have to let us know where the project stands, and we'll get into that schedule.
Does anyone have anything else? Going once? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This time we're going to jump around just a little bit because Jeff is also here to help us out with our audio-visual resolution. So we're going to jump around and change the numbers here to number, okay? This is a resolution for a budget amendment, whereas the Town Board of Milton must make budgetary amendments, and said amendments must be based upon resolutions of the Town Board of the Town of Milton. Now therefore be it resolved, the Town Board of Milton does authorize the fiscal officer of the Town of Milton to make amendments to the 21 budget and process inter-budgetary transfer as follows. From AA-06, 88-000-000, other liabilities, $12,605, to AA-1010-200-000, legislative board equipment and capital outlay, $12,605. This is for the presentation that Jeff and Dave will give us in just a minute here. So I need someone to move on this resolution.
So moved.
Second?
Who seconds that?
No, I don't know if anybody seconded yet.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
The only, well, moving the money, I have my discussion will come up. The equipment, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
Never mind. Brain's died.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalatni.
Yes. Okay, Jeff and Dave. Where'd you go? There you go. Okay, this is for a purchase of audio-visual equipment. And Ryan, you want to take a second here and tell us what we're looking at?
Sure, so we talked about this last meeting. The more appealing potential vendor looks like Camcrest. I did speak to them directly. They can split the invoice. That was a question we had last time, was can we install some of the equipment here in the community center and then transfer that over to the town hall with the remainder of the equipment before we move back in. They can do that. They have to determine what those costs would be, but they still expect it to not exceed the original quote of, I believe it was 10,000 and change. So what they would do is they would send one Polycom unit here, one television, one sound bar in the brackets. Talking to Jeff, he believes that that's something he can help set up here. The vendor can configure the unit so that it would work with Zoom, which is what we're using today and plan to use for the future. That vendor would be available to come here if Jeff could not at an additional cost, which that total is unknown. And one other recommendation was to add a support package as well, which would not exceed $250, and that's annual. So at this point in time, even adding in the potential installation costs and the support package costs, we're still significantly lower than the other vendors. And that would still be my recommendation.
Thank you. Jeff, you want to take, can you take just a minute there and describe to the resident what it is we're doing here?
Yeah, so essentially this Poly system is a conference bar that enables you to run your Zoom meetings kind of with a wide angle of a board like this. It does voice tracking, so as each member speaks, it'll focus on that person so that you can put your Zoom meetings online. And then additionally, it does support the ability to upload your documents and that sort of thing to the presentation, basically, for people in person to view it, as well as the people in the Zoom meetings. I mean, essentially, my role in this is really just the installation of the equipment. It's pretty trivial if you're just using it for Zoom purposes. You know, literally a matter of basically connecting everything and some light configuration.
Anybody have any questions for Jeff?
Will you be doing the installation at Town Hall also?
Yeah, I mean, the majority of the heavy lifting happens when you do the configuration, so really
Sure.
most of it would be done here. At that point, it's just basically physically bringing it over to the town hall and then, hanging it basically on the wall. If you have it there, you probably have somebody to handle that sort of thing. But in terms of the connection to the network over there, it's really a minor piece of it.
And built into the cost for Camp Crest, it does include installation at Town Hall. So I think they would still come up to bring the remaining visual devices and have those installed.
And I guess, not to put you on the spot, Jeff, are we looking at $1,000? Under 1,000?
Under 1,000, yeah. Yeah, including both locations. Including both locations, I would say under 1,000 is reasonable.
This will allow contractors and so on to put their designs and their maps and everything up on the TV screen, correct? I think that's one of the most annoying things at our building and zoning meetings, that you can't see it, or the audience can't see what's actually going on.
Sure, so this has the ability to connect, I believe it's 2 HDMI-based displays. You could, if you wanted to in the future, you want to use a projector, you could use that as well as one of your output devices. It's pretty flexible like that.
Thank you.
Anything else? Great. Thank you, Jeff. Okay, moving on. First public comment session. You had that lady from before, so I'll get to her in just a second here. Mrs. Martinez.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I had reached out to Mrs. Slotnick earlier this week because we had some incidents of bullets striking houses from the direction of the Tiana Mission Game Club. When they were doing a roof inspection in my house on August 23rd, the man pulled a bullet from my roof. He said that it came from the direction of the gun club. And on Monday, there was another house that was struck in Fair Oaks. Both incidents were recorded with the police department. And in conversations with some residents at Fair Oaks, they reported that they've heard the whizzing of bullets, which the gentleman who was reporting that is familiar with it, given that he is a veteran. I don't know. I do know that in my specific development, many years ago, there was an incident where a bullet struck a child's room, and that the gun club, they did some adjustments to their burns and did some safety measures, but it seems that those safety measures are no longer sufficient, as there have been incidents of bullets being observed in these neighborhoods that are right behind the gun club. So I wanted to comment on that. I wanted to have a meeting about what it is that, what safety measures can be implemented. Because I know that the Fishing Lake Club was here before those neighborhoods came to be. But the truth is that now we're here and we need to feel safe.
I do need your address for the record, ma'am.
9-7 run.
Thank you very much. Mr. Rossi.
I have a Goshen selling my address because I think I memorized it by now, but it's Frank Rossi Jr., 63 Saratoga Avenue, Apartment D. Also spot New York 12012. Got it? Thank you. Mr. Supervisor, I'm in receipt of your undated letter from you to Frank Rossi Sr. I'm on behalf of the Rossis requesting ability to canvass the Mohican Hill Apartments Phase 1 and Phase 2 of that. And I felt it was a good idea to address it publicly, since our business appears publicly anyway. about, campaigning, et cetera. You made a request to canvass over 4 days, I think it was, and we took a look at it and we appreciated the letter, first off. Second, our policy is generally 1 day per candidate, that it should be doable in 1 day. So I'll have Gina Morosi, who manages this aspect of it, in contact with you to get a day that's mutually agreeable. One other thing, we're going to be in this situation, because tenants asked us for this because of COVID, we're going to be taking names of anybody that is not looking to be contacted directly in that manner. We've been actually trying to get people to do lit drops only if possible, because we've been hearing a lot of concern about that, especially since boosters aren't generally available for that population yet. So we'll work with you on it, but I just wanted you to know what the policy is. Remember that there are a couple people that are associated with your campaign that said they would not set foot on our property, so we hope that that's going to be abided by. We have extended the same offer to Councilwoman Kerr and to Mr. Ostrander, the candidates for supervisor, and to the council members or council candidates as well. So that's a universal offer and policy. There's one other thing, though, I do want to address generally, and again, we've talked about conduct surrounding elections a lot, and it still needs to be discussed. This is a general concept and not electioneering. I was alarmed to see somebody associated with your campaign on Facebook stating to somebody a veiled threat. I'm afraid the dots are connecting. Is this a fight you're prepared to bet your reputation on? I hope so, because if not, I hope your compensation will be worth the fallout. This is to Angela Miller McFarland from Keith Lewis. Ms. McFarland states, "What are you talking about?" Because this was unsolicited. The response, "Really? Interesting. I'm sure I'll take it from here." These veiled threats in the treatment of women, especially in this area, it's uncalled for. The same individual who is associated with your campaign and has stated such has gotten into the faces or violated the public space of several females, especially in this area. That is not appropriate. It needs to stop. We can all disagree on what candidate to back, or issues, or whatever. But even an election where the Licatas and the Gojans and the Rossies and whoever else, who normally don't agree on anything, probably, if it came down to it, at least politically.
I'm afraid, Mr. Rossi, I have to cut you off. I'm sorry.
This is the green eggs and ham principle, Benny. I'm not electioneering. And Jim can tell you that. I can sit here and read you green eggs and ham right now.
You could, but your 3 minutes are up, and we know what happens if I let you go over, then everybody else said.
Well, you gotta give me a 30-second warning like you give everybody else as well. Just to summarize, it needs to stop. And it's connected to you, and the buck stops with you if that's the case. So please get in front of it and tell folks, publicly and privately, to stop. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Broderson.
Barbara Broderson, 48 Edmund Drive, with the Baltimore area seniors.
You have to get closer to the
I'm
microphone.
sorry, with the Baltimore area seniors. I apologize for coming late, so I'm really not sure if maybe this was covered. When I came in, you were talking about installing some other kind of equipment in the scene in here. And I would assume that it's going to be permanent, and therefore my assumption is that it may be for holding meetings as such. Is that what we're talking about? That you will be holding your meetings here in the community center?
No, the equipment would be temporarily placed here. And
So you're going to put this in for the 4 months until we move out. Now, I assume, and I don't know what you talked about before, but I understand that we're over budget. We're doing the town hall. How does that affect the seniors from getting back in here? I believe you had mentioned that with the job up at the place up there, that the town hall would be done by the 23rd of December, that we would be moving into, the seniors would be allowed to move back in here first or second week in January. I would hope that is true. We have been out of here for 2 years now. And we have no home. The Gojans have been wonderful to us. Thank you very, very much for allowing us to use their space. This is, honest to God, I have no idea how long is it going to take before the seniors are allowed back in here. And I come in here every once in a while and I only see, I'm sorry, 4 or 5 employees in this whole place. And we have been out of everything. Seniors are very important in this community. We don't feel like we're being treated equally. I don't know what to say. We keep getting promises after promises after promises. I don't know, because of the $500,000 over that you were, I guess, in your budget, has anything changed? Will we be getting into this building by January 1st or 2nd? Because I hate to tell you this, but none of the seniors believe you. None of them. And believe me, we are all voters. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Batty?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. 3 minutes, sir.
Hi, how are you? My name's Mike Batty. My wife Monique lives with me here at 33 Huntington Way. This is spiraling back to a follow-up to what Mrs. Martinez spoke about earlier. Mine is the house that was hit by a bullet on Monday at 4 o'clock. It broke a window. It shook us up quite a bit when we found out about it. We weren't where my 25-year-old son was, but it's a window that's right in front of where we sit, right near our TV. I knew that when we moved in the neighborhood that noise could be an issue. Not an issue. We were okay with it. That's why we moved here from the gun club. We weren't concerned about the noise, but I didn't know that there would be a safety issue, and we're very, very concerned about this. We have this neighborhood is thriving. There's an awful lot of little kids. Kids on bikes all day, young families out in the streets, walking, running, biking. That happened at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when the bus was pulling up. One of the young dads that lives in the neighborhood was getting his daughter off the bus, heard a tremendous bang, and then realized that the window was broken on our house. He lived down the street. He hurried his daughter off to home. I'm sure there's other stories. I don't know if there are people here that heard it. I know our neighbor heard the whistling of the bullet before it broke our window. So I think right now we're at a critical point where the board needs to address this as quickly as possible. I know you're just learning of this information, so obviously you can't do anything about this tonight, but I think it's something you need to take up immediately. Some of my other concerns were that when I tried to call the gun club, I got an out-of-service number. I think when we called the sheriffs, we went over and there was nobody on duty. There's no one over there on duty making sure rules are being followed. That there's just kind of a sign-in process, but people don't always sign in. Who knows if they're even shooting from the right spots. This is not a one-time instance. Last spring, I think my house was hit as well. I didn't want to believe it. I heard a huge, it tends to be, I'm not much of a gun person, but it seems to be when there's a huge explosion, so a higher powered weapon is being used. Last spring, I heard an incredible bang from a gun. It sounded like it was like right in my yard. It was so loud, and that's much, much different than what I normally used to hearing. And then I felt my house roof get hit. I went out and searched it, couldn't find where it hit, but I know it did. But then I just kept telling myself it couldn't be. But now that I think back, and now I have this broken window, I'm thinking it's actually the second time my house has been hit. I'm concerned for everything. I'm concerned for safety. I'm happy that it was just a window. I'm concerned for liability all the way around.
Sir, I'm afraid I have to cut you off. Your 3 minutes are up, but we are aware of the situation.
I just want to finish up by saying I just want the board to take this serious and to follow up quickly and to have whatever it is you do, a side meeting, whatever it may take to address this issue quickly, because I think it needs it's a safety matter for the community over here. So I just wanted to say my word.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Betty, can I ask you something?
Certainly.
Back to the end of public comment or some point later in the meeting, are we going to have some kind of discussion amongst the board here? Because I think there's a lot of people here that need to hear us talk about this a little bit.
Of course. Anyone else? Mr. Bogosian.
Roof Division, 6019 Jackie Street. Listening to this conversation with the gun club and the houses that were built behind the gun club, and the gun club that has existed there for, I'm going to say, 40+ years, and the homes that are probably maybe within 5 years old at the max. It reminds me of something that Mr. Craig's former partner, Paul Brown, told me one time at one of these meetings. He said, son, if you lie down with a lion, you're going to get scratched. You need to think about pretty good that, I think. That's not the point of my discussion. I wanted to ask, is it Jen? Last 2 weeks ago, you were here and you said the town was thinking about tying into the public sewer system. Do we actually have one here?
I believe it's public. I said it was in it by accident.
Perfect. In that estimate, was the connection rate
Mr.
included?
Bogosian, this is public comment.
Yeah, I'm public,
Okay,
but I'm commenting. Thank you.
no, you're asking questions, sir. If you have a comment, please make a comment.
Okay, I'll make the comment. The sewer rate was not included in that bid, so as you folks make your decision tonight, just remember you have a connection rate that needs to be paid.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Ms. Morosi.
Gina Morosi, 10 Old Door Lane, Boston Spot. I was on Facebook today and came across an interesting conversation.
We can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry, can you hear me now? Okay. And I came across an interesting conversation, and there's some confusion about it, so I'm hoping that maybe this can be cleared up tonight. It's posted on your behalf, Benny, it has your photo, and it says that you, congratulates you, the town of Milton and the village of Boston Spa. Under your leadership, the town of Milton secured $2.1 million in federal COVID relief funds. Milton will be providing the village of Boston Spa with $600,000. Oh, you can hear me better now. Of that 1.2 million. Now, I think we're all aware that the village has received their own money, correct?
That is correct, yes.
A lot less than 600, but they did receive their own money.
Well, it's supposed to be in 2 units, so they got half of it this year and they'll get half of it next year, just like we got 750 this year and we'll get 750 next year.
Now, are you going to be providing the village with $600,000?
No, I won't. In the original program that was designed and designated by the federal government, the town was to get all of the funds, and the funds were to be distributed to the villages that were in town.
Right.
And that changed.
And that changed. This post was on September 14th, and that change happened long before that date, correct?
I believe you are correct.
Yes. So I find this very misleading.
Well, Mrs. Morosi, I'm going to stop you there for a second because you and I both made a pledge a couple of weeks ago.
I'm not talking about the
Not
election.
to bring politics.
I'm not talking about the election, Benny. I'm talking about COVID relief money. Okay? And I'm asking you, based on this post, if you find it misleading that it says that the town is providing the village with $600,000.
No, I don't, because the money's supposed to trickle down from the towns to the villages, and that's what's happened.
Okay, and it also says here, someone commented, that there's a very limited scope of how this money can be spent. Is that correct?
That is true.
And such as, could you explain that to people so they understand?
We can go over the ARPA funding at a later date. This is public comment, Mrs. Morosi. If you'd like to make a comment, fine. I'm not going to get into a dialogue with you. You want to talk about it after the meeting? We can do that too.
Okay, that's fine.
You have 30 seconds.
And I'll accept that, and I just think that if it's posted on your behalf, you'd want to clarify it for people. That's the only reason for my comment. Thank you.
Mrs. Nutter. Well, I'm asking her. Well, she's only on mute here. Mrs. Nutter, can you hear me? I'm asking this resident to unmute, and I'm not getting a response, so I'm going to move on to Brenda Clark. Mrs. Clark, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
I live at 34 Huntington Way. I live across from the Baddies. I was here on Monday, the day that the bullet hit the window. I was out doing some yard work, and I actually heard, well, some gunfire, which sounded a little different than normal. And I heard a whiz go by. And my husband had said probably a month before that he heard gunfire. And I didn't believe that it could happen in this neighborhood coming from over there. But when I heard it, I knew immediately what it was. And then I heard a bang. I didn't know what that was until my neighbor Monique called me on the phone, and she said her son was over there and the window was broke. So I immediately went over, and he was talking to the neighbors next door, and the woman next door heard exactly what I heard, was a whizzing right before we heard the bang. And it is very, very concerning, because I tried to contact as many parents as I could about these little kids right away, just to let them know to keep the kids inside, because this is a very big concern that we just really need to address right away. We're not trying to get the range shut down. My husband shoots guns and so forth, and he is the vet that knows what the sound is. But we need this addressed. I mean, we brought the concern up, and we've been hearing gunfire, but I think we need to get this taken care of and resolved before anything else happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mrs. Licata.
Cheryl Licata, 4 Quebec Lane, Boston Spa. The funds that came through the town of Milton, the $1.551 million, which we already have the $750, the rest will be coming next year. I requested a couple of weeks ago that there be a committee set up to figure out how to spend that money, just like they're doing in Schenectady. And I haven't heard anything about it, but I'm hoping, I had a couple of suggestions on what to do with it to better our community. I haven't heard anything back except that we're going to be doing something with it. I know it's not urgent to take care of this, and we've got a couple of years to spend it, but the requirements are specific, and they are listed on the website. If you look on the town of Milton's website, you can see a letter posted by the comptroller that explains how you can spend that money. So if you want to dig for it, you can find it. But I would like to still again request some sort of committee be put together to determine how to spend that money.
Thank you. Seeing no one else, I will close the opening public comment. Next up, a motion to accept the minutes from the August 25th and September 8th meeting.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Brenda, can you hold the board, please?
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kern.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Saxon.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalati.
Yes. Thank you. Next up, a resolution.
Before you go any further, are we voting on this audio-visual equipment?
I thought we did.
No,
No,
we
budget.
voted on the budget
Oh,
transfer.
my mistake. Yeah, we can. It doesn't really matter what order it's done in, but that's fine. All right, next up is a resolution to approve the purchase of the audio-visual equipment through Camtrash. Whereas the controller and town clerk have advised the town board that it's necessary to upgrade the town's AV equipment in order to properly and correctly hold virtual meetings on Zoom and/or other platforms, and to correct the issues the town and public are currently experiencing with sound and visibility during the town's various meetings. And be it resolved, said amount is to be funded from the 2021 ARPA funding or otherwise determined by the town controller, and the town controller is authorized to make the necessary budget transfers needed for such purpose. Need someone to make the move on the motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Thank you, Frank. Any discussion? Brenda, can you poll the board, please?
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Frolich.
Yes.
Councilman Oxon.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalatni.
Yes. Next up, resolution supporting an application by the Town of Milton Town Court to the Justice Court Assistance Program regarding applying for a grant for the purchase of high-density filing cabinets and renovations to the court to accommodate such. Whereas the town board has been provided documentation by the town justices of the Town of Milton Court regarding the availability and application for a grant from the New York State Justice Court Assistance Program, JCAP, up to the approximate amount of $30,000 for the purchase of high-density filing cabinets and the renovation of office closet space to provide additional space for such cabinets. Therefore, be it resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to sign any and all documentation needed and required by JCAP and the town court as part of this application.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, John.
I'll second.
Thank you, Bart. Any discussion?
Just as a clarification, this is a matching grant. We have to put up 32, I believe, right?
I'm sorry, Tim Brown, Town Justice. It is not a matching grant, that is a grant that we applied for. We have to put it in the budget in the event that it goes over budget, or it's strictly a Justice Court Assistance Program grant. There is no money out of pocket. We have to make sure that it is in the budget so that it can be returned to the town. Because we have to fork it out and then it gets returned.
Yeah, my bad. My bad. And thank you. Thank you.
Any, poll the board, please. Brenda?
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes, please.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Frolich.
Yes.
Councilman Oxon.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalatni.
Yes. Next up, a resolution requesting the State of New York Department of Transportation to conduct a speed study and reduce the speed limit on a particular section of Paisley Road in the Town of Milton. Whereas the Town of Milton has received concerns from residents residing on Paisley Road regarding the drastic increase in vehicle traffic on said roadway over the years and the potential for injury as a result of the current speed limit set for said road. And therefore be it resolved that the Town Board may from time to time amend, supplement, change, modify, and repeal this resolution pursuant to the provisions of the town law, the vehicle and traffic law, and the general municipal law applicable hereto. So I need someone to move on a resolution for us to pass this up to the county, who will then pass it up to the state for a traffic study.
Take that motion.
Thank you, Frank. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ryan. Any discussion? Brenda, can you poll the board, please?
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Frolich.
Yes.
Councilman Oxon.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalatni.
Yes. Thank you. Next up, resolution enacting local law number 4 of 2021, adding Town Code Chapter 133 entitled Unsafe, Abandoned Properties and Structures Law. Whereas unsafe buildings and abandoned properties pose a threat to the health and safety of town residents, and the town currently has no statutory framework to deal with such properties. And whereas the board, at the request of the building inspector, caused to have drafted local law for consideration to deal with said properties, which said local law draft has been on the desk of the board members for at least 7 days prior to any hearing, and the board set a public hearing for the matter. An official notice in said public hearing was duly and properly advertised in the official newspapers of the Town of Milton. And on September 22nd, a public hearing was held as is required by law, and all those interested were invited to attend and be heard on the subject. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Milton believes it is in the best interest, as well as the best interest of its health and safety of residents, to enact said local law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Milton hereby approves adding new Chapter 133 to the Town Code and adopts local law number 4 of 2021, a full copy of which is attached hereto. And be it further resolved that the Town Clerk B, and she hereby is directed to enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting and in the local law book of the town of Milton, and give due notice of the adoption of said local law to the Secretary of State of the State of New York. Now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the town of Milton. Need someone to move on this.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, John. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Barbara. Any discussion? Brenda, can you poll the board?
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalando.
Yes. Thank you. Next up, a resolution, amending the bond resolution, authorizing the issuance of up to $1 million in serial bonds of the town of Milton to pay the cost of town hall rehabilitation, and authorizing the issuance of up to $1 million in bond anticipation notes to the town for the same purpose. Whereas on November 2020, the town board adopted a resolution authorizing the issuance of up to $1 million in serial bonds and/or bond anticipation notes for the purpose of paying the cost of rehabilitation of town hall, including replacement of the existing town hall and court roof systems, hazardous material abatement, and related structural, architectural, finish, and drainage improvements, and further included related preliminary and incidental costs, and authorizing such specific object or purpose at a maximum estimated of $1 million. Whereas on March 31st, the town issued its $995,000 Town of Milton bond anticipation note, and whereas the following issuance of the note, the town was advised the actual cost of the project would exceed the amounts used in calculating the maximum estimated cost of the project. Whereas the additional cost can be paid for from currently available funds of the town without the need to increase the bond or bands is issued for the project. And whereas the town wishes to amend the bond resolution to increase the authorized maximum estimated cost of the project and the plan of financing of the total cost. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Milton, Saratoga County, New York, as follows. The specific object or purpose for which the obligations are authorized by this resolution are to be issued is rehabilitation of town hall, including replacement of the existing town hall and town court roof systems, hazardous material abatement and related structural architectural finishes, and drainage improvements, and further related preliminary and incidental costs of the project. And such specific object or purpose is hereby authorized at a maximum estimated cost of $1,650,000. Plans for the financing of such maximum estimated cost is to use $650,000 from currently available funds for the town and issuance of up to $1 million in serial bonds. Section 2, all provisions of the bond resolution not specifically amended in this resolution shall remain unchanged and in full force and effect and are hereby ratified and affirmed. Section 3, all actions taken and decisions made based on the bond resolution, including without reservation issuance, sale and delivery of the note of the town's obligations thereunder, are hereby ratified and affirmed. Section 4, this resolution shall take effect immediately. This resolution is not changing the amount of the bond or bands authorized to be issued for the project, and therefore is not subject to permissive referendum or the publication requirements described in Local Finance Law, Section 81. Section 5, the question of adoption of this resolution was duly put to a roll call vote, which resulted as follows. Now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the town of Milton. We need someone to move on this.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, John. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Frank. Any discussion?
Yes. Quick question. When I ran my figures, and maybe Dave can help me with it, when I looked at the contracts we are currently about to approve or disapprove, and I look at what we've spent to date, I thought we were closer to 1.4.
Yeah, that is a fair estimate. I think there was some cost that may not have been included in that figure, but I think we hope to close the project out will be at about 1.5. The reason we increased the maximum estimated cost of the project to 1.65 is to give us a little bit of flexibility so that we don't have to go through this process, you know, in the future if anything were to change and costs were to exceed the 1.5. But when it's all said and done, we are fairly confident based on the bid that presented and vetted that we will be right there at 1.5.
Yeah, I guess my question also, and I know Jenny, you could probably, in our contracts presently that we're about to get into, there are contingency funds already put in those contracts to account for any overages or unexpected costs.
That's yeah, that's a great point. But that's they're called our retainers.
Yeah.
With a percentage, 5 to 10. But there are those retainage amounts that are factored into the agreements to get a little bit of cushion. You know, in the event that you know anything additional were needed to be on by the contractors. But so all the bid resolution does by increasing to 1.65 is just increasing the cost of what we can expend towards the project. It does not mean that we are necessarily going to approach that figure. It's just it just gives us a little more latitude to I mean, I think the most important item here to consider is that we don't have to issue any more debt. It's we're not relying on resources that we accumulate from prior year's operations and fund the differential, which I know Jenny discussed at the last meeting that resulted in additional efforts to address mechanical, electrical, and how basically update the plumbing systems.
Don't talk louder.
We can't hear any of it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to start yelling.
I apologize.
Start over.
I'm not here all that often, but I'll make an effort to project.
Thank you.
I guess, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I would have been more comfortable if we'd been a little bit more, I want to say, realistic as far as what we were going to expend here. I know we can't change that number tonight without holding up this project, so I want everybody to understand that doesn't mean we're going to spend 1.65.
Exactly. That is a.
We're going to be close to expending 1.4.
Yeah, between 1.4 and 1.5. I know I put projecting together, and I do think we're closer to the 1.5, and that is subject to the board authorizing all of the bids plus the addendum items, which are add-ons. Basically, it was the fob system for entry points and the sewer hookup. Those were the big two add-ons that would push us up to the closer to between 1.4 and 1.5.
Yeah, as a correction though, they aren't really add-ons, they were actually bid, and we would actually take those out of the final price now, right?
No, those were ads. They're called ads. They're ad alternates.
Yeah, I know when we came up with the 588, which is what we looked at, I think, that included all the add-ons.
Jenny may be able to provide more insight regarding the structure of the bid as it went out. It was a base bid and now the alternate, and now give her the floor.
And kind of like what Mr. Negotiator pointed out, we're already, we're talking about if we go with the sewer hookup and what that's going to cost us. So there had to be, the way it was explained to me was the cushion is in there for instead of having to go through this again, this whole process again with the bond changes?
Yeah, that's a good point. So the bids that we received, when we did go out to bid on bid day, it was all inclusive of sewer and the access control system. When we received our final estimate back, we were nervous about the total estimate, and so we then pulled out the sewer system and the card access system and made them what we call add alternates. So when the bids were received, we received a base bid and then an add alternate 1 and an add alternate 2. So those additional costs or bids for the adult 1 and adult 2 are in addition to that base bid received. So that 500, I forget the total value for the base bids, I don't remember what that total number is off the top of my head, but.
Well, I think when I added it up, Jenny, it came to pretty close to 588.
Yeah, that was inclusive.
But that also included the sewer hookups and the,
Yes, that was.
included everything.
That's correct. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that those don't get subtracted.
So in our 1.4 estimation that we have to spend yet, that would be include the sewer hookup in the
Yes. But,
card system.
well, so just to clarify also the sewer hookup. So what we do not have in there is the actual hookup fee that gets paid directly to the sewer provider. That is in addition to, and that's because we actually can't calculate that rate until some negotiations do commence. And so those are additional fees. I don't have a cost for those right now. So that would be paid for directly by the town. That's not included in the bids.
That's not true.
That's all.
Okay. Anybody else?
The county has a scale of charges. You can certainly.
Randy, can you call the board, please?
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalotnik.
Yes, thank you. Next up, resolution to award contract number 1. Construction work. Whereas the town board did previously approve and pass resolutions authorizing the town engineer to prepare bid specs for town hall interior renovations, including needing and necessary construction work, and authorizing the supervisor to advertise, and publish notice to bidders regarding the interior work to town hall. Now therefore be resolved that the town board, after due consideration and upon recommendation from the town engineer, awards contract number 1, construction work for the town hall renovation project to AOW Construction LLC of 30 Essex Street, Albany, New York, according to the terms set forth in the bid specifications and recommendations of MJ Engineering and Land Surveying PC, entitled Town Hall Interior Renovations, Town of Milton, contract number 1, construction work, post-bid analysis dated September 16th, for a total sum of $331,550, which amount also includes sanitary sewer connection and electronic card readers. Hereby directs the supervisor to make whatever steps are necessary to execute an agreement between the town of Milton and AOW for such construction work and renovations, and any required change order documentation or inspection documentation which will be required for the processing and completion of this project, and to do all that is needed and required to obtain the necessary financing or otherwise secure the funds and pay all amounts owed under the agreement. Therefore, be it resolved by the town board of the town of Milton. Jen, do you want to take just a second and then go over this part of the contract for us again?
Yeah, so this is specific to contract number 1, which is the general construction contract. This contract does include all work associated with the replacement of the ceiling systems, flooring systems, some interior partition modifications, and then repairs to all of the damaged, toilet room components that were damaged last year. The project, that scope with the add alternates, again, also includes installation of the sewer system and the card access points.
Would you take just a second and explain why the sewer system, we feel, I do anyway, is a vital part of this project?
Yes, so the existing sanitary sewer system that's associated with town hall consists of, it's actually a separate system that consists of just holding tanks essentially. One is underneath a parking lot, the other one is out front of the court. But these structures are old, they're not constructed in conformance with any current design requirements and in codes. They're also, very aged, so their life expectancy is not expected to be, much greater than it is today. So we do believe at this time, it's best to move forward with that effort, to bring everything into conformance and then also give you the ability to expand in the future if the council desires.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to move on contract one?
I have a question. The card system, who's gonna handle that? Who's going to input all that information? Who's gonna oversee that?
As far as administrator,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would assume probably the town clerk. It isn't as difficult a system.
I know what it is, I did it in Skidmore, that was my job.
Yep.
And I agree, I think we need it, because that's something that if someone leaves, you automatically, that card is no good to inactivate that account.
Yeah.
But,
Plus this
yeah,
new-
that's quite a jump.
This new system will also, right now, there are severe gaps in doors that people can get into the building without anyone else knowing about it. This system will cover all access to the building, upstairs, downstairs, through highway.
I know that, I couldn't track anybody on the campus, so I realize that's how it works, so. But it is a big job to administrate it, and it's like, I'm just wondering, that's the question. There's a lot of training that goes with it also. I think it's a great system, I think it's a great way to go, because we've had issues with employees leaving and possibly not getting all our keys back. So, this makes it a lot more efficient and safe. Just a question of who's going to take care of that.
Yeah, we do have the head-end equipment proposed to be in the office.
What is that?
The head-end equipment is proposed to be, and it's actually this computer can be moved around, but it is proposed at this moment in time in the clerk's office.
Okay, a motion to approve contract number one.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Brenda, poll the board, please.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Carr.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalati.
Yes. Next up, resolution to approve contract number two, whereas the town board did previously approve and pass resolutions authorizing the town engineer to prepare bid specs for town hall interior renovations, included needing and necessary plumbing work, and authorizing the supervisor to advertise and publish notice to bidders regarding interior renovation of town hall. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board, after due consideration and upon recommendation from the town engineer, awards contract number two, plumbing work, for the town hall interior renovation to Christopoli Brothers Plumbing and Heating Contractors of 25 Industrial Park Road, Albany, New York, according to the terms set forth in the bid specs and recommendations of MJ Engineering and Land Survey. Entitled Town Hall Interior Renovations, Town of Milton Contract number two, plumbing work, post-bid analysis dated September 16th, for a total sum of $40,400, and hereby directs the supervisor to take whatever steps are necessary to execute an agreement between the town of Milton and Christopoli Brothers to do such work. Now therefore be resolved by the town board of the town of Milton.
Does this help the judges at all?
Yes. Basically, it helps them with the sewer overflows we've had in the court system. Oh, I'm sorry, you probably can't hear me. They have had some sewage overflows in the court system due to the fact that it's an aging system, and this will correct all those problems. And the same thing with the sewage leaks that we've had in the building department. Thank you.
Need a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ryan. Any further discussion? Brenda, poll the board, please.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisors-elect.
Yes. Next up, resolution to award contract number 3. Whereas the town board has previously approved and passed resolutions authorizing the town engineer to prepare bid specs for the town hall for interior renovations, including HVAC work, and authorizing the supervisor to advertise and publish notice to bidders regarding the interior renovation to town hall. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board, after due consideration upon recommendation from the town engineer, awards contract number 3, HVAC work for town hall interior renovation program to BPI Mechanical of 95 Hudson River Road, Waterford, New York. And according to the terms set forth in the bid specs and recommendations of MJ Engineering and Land Survey entitled Town Hall Interior Renovations, Town of Milton contract number 3, HVAC post-bid analysis dated September 16, 2021, for a total sum of $121,610. And hereby directs the supervisor to take whatever steps are necessary to execute an agreement between the town of Milton and BPI Mechanical for such renovation work and any required change order documentation or inspection documentation which will be required for processing and completion of this project. Now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the town of Milton. Again, a brief overview, please.
Sure. The HVAC scope does include replacement to the existing aging furnaces. In addition to actually some furnaces that are a little bit newer, just because they weren't sized correctly for the building, they were more of a residential unit. This will actually bring you up to where you should be for the commercial space that you have. It replaces your air conditioning units, improves ventilation, and generally just brings you up to code for in certain areas of the building that weren't in conformance with ventilation requirements.
I'll entertain a motion.
I have air conditioning. I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Brenda, can you hold the board, please?
Councilman Blaisdell. Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisors-elect.
Yes. Thank you. Next up, resolution awarding contract number 4, electrical work. Whereas the town board has previously approved and passed resolutions authorizing the town engineer to prepare bid specs for the town hall interior renovations, including needed and necessary electrical work, and authorizing the supervisor to advertise and publish notice to bidders regarding the interior renovation of town hall. Now therefore be it resolved the town board, after due consideration and upon recommendation from the town engineer, awards contract number 4, electrical work for town hall interior renovation project to Harold R. Clune of 30 Prospect Street, Boston Spa, New York, in accordance with terms set forth in the bid specifications and recommendations of MJ Engineering and Land Surveying, entitled Town Hall Interior Renovations, contract number 4, electrical work, post-bid analysis dated September 16, 2021, for a total sum of $265,900, which amount also includes sanitary sewer connection and electronic card readers, and hereby directs the supervisor to take whatever steps necessary to execute an agreement between the town of Milton and Harold R. Clune for such electrical work and any required change order documentation or inspection documentation which will be required for the processing and completion of this project, and to do all that is needed and required to obtain the necessary financing or to secure the funds needed and pay all amounts owed under the agreement. Now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the town of Milton. I need someone to move on contract number 4.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, John. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ryan.
Give a description?
Sure.
Electrical contract for this work does include, new electrical wiring associated with the modified partitions, installation of lighting. It does include IT infrastructure, creation of an IT closet to accommodate the work that Spectrum had proposed earlier this evening. And it obviously includes the electrical associated with the sanitary sewer pumping station and the access card readers.
And new fire.
Oh yes, I'm sorry, a new fire alarm system. That's correct.
Poll the board, please. Ready?
Councilman Blazer.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Frolich.
Yes.
Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalata.
Yes. Thanks, Jen. Next up is the motion to approve the easement with Niagara Mohawk. We all had that a couple of weeks ago. This is just a basic housekeeping issue.
I'll make that.
Thank you, Jen.
Second.
Thank you, Frank. Any discussion?
Zach, where's the easement in that way? Where's the easement? Where's the easement then? Exactly, where is it?
It's out with the new project that they're doing. I don't remember the exact location. I sent it all to you.
Okay.
This
okay.
deals with
With the.
hookup processes, so.
Yeah,
Where is it?
Okay, thank you.
Brook Road.
I do.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, thanks. Brendan, can you pull the board, please?
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Frolich.
Yes.
Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalata.
Yes. Thank you. Next up is a motion to reappoint Chairman Licata back to the Budget Committee.
I'll make that motion. Are you sure you still want it?
We did yesterday.
I don't know, I'm waiting for the vote. Okay.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ryan. Any discussion? Brendan, can you pull the board, please?
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Frolich.
Yes.
Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalata.
Yes. Okay, monthly reports, animal control. I don't think we have anything.
No, we didn't.
We didn't have anything from animal control this month. Building department.
Building Department report for August 2021. Dear Supervisors Zlatnik and town board members, in the month of August, the Building Department processed 35 building permits and collected $9,601.15 in building permits. We completed 154 construction inspections, 34 fire safety inspections, and responded to 18 code enforcement complaints. A total of 44 permits were closed with 17 certificate of occupancy and 27 certificates of compliance being issued. Please find the appropriate itemized report attached. Respectfully submitted, Bill Lewis.
Buildings and grounds.
Buildings and grounds report for September. During the month of September, we've completed the following tasks: mowing of town property and parks, painted Pavilion 1 in the Burgess Kimball Park, daily cleaning and disinfecting of the community center and court, perform maintenance on park equipment, and replace broken windows at the Burgess Kimball Park store.
Thank you. Okay, we already received our budget and actual report, so highway department.
Highway Department, Town of Milton Highway Department, September monthly report. Highway Department is finishing the completion of roadway reconstruction on the following streets: Stark Terrace, Morgan Lane, McCray Drive, Revolutionary Way, Edifice Way, Schuyler Way, Burgoyne Avenue, and Ulysses Drive. And I tested them out and they're fine. Cleanup repairs and aprons for this project should be complete within the next 2 weeks. Fall cleanup does not start until mid-October. We ask town residents do not put out loose debris until October 15th. Presently, the town residents can bring their lawn debris to the transfer station, 503 Geyser Road. Transfer station hours are Monday through Thursday, 6 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Respectfully submitted, Town of Milton Highway Department. And then I have a letter here attached. And it says, Mr. Forbes, my family and I resided at 618 Stark Terrace and lived here for the past 23 years. I've been a resident of the town of Milton for 30 years. As you are aware, the roads in my development were recently paved. I'm writing to let you know how pleased I am with the job and that your department did. The roads look great. However, I also want to thank you and your department for the work you do throughout the year. This includes lawn, leaf, and yard debris pickup, snow removal, and general road maintenance. In fact, my job calls me to occasionally travel out of New York State many times during the winter months. I can tell you there isn't a municipality in the state that does a better job at cleaning the snow and making roads safe for travel than your department. Thanks again, keep up the good work.
Historians report.
Hi there, I'm back again. I continue to work from home answering research requests and documenting the COVID-19 pandemic. First of all, I would like to publicly thank Mr. John Munter, who left, I'm sorry, on behalf of the town, the Historian's Office, and the Historic Structures and Places Committee for the prompt and careful care that his crew did when removing the fallen trees from the Frank Sanitary, otherwise known as the Boyhaven Cemetery, and especially for the wonderful repair of the stones that were damaged by the fallen trees. Thank you very much for taking care of this. The county COVID dashboard as of Monday morning, actually Monday afternoon, I should say, because they don't update it till 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Our county has 323 active cases of COVID, and there has been a total of 1,537 new cases over the past month, and there are currently 28 people in the hospital. Our 7-day rolling average is 3.1%, which is down from 5.1% as of August 30th. Sadly, there were 12 deaths over the past month, and last month there was only 6. The next Historic Structures and Places Committee will meet on Monday, September 27th at the Community Center here at 6:30. Anyone interested in our local history is welcome to attend. At our last meeting, we discussed some of our cemetery issues and preparations for the Heritage Award. The cemetery sign at the South Milton Cemetery on Good Road has broken and fallen and will be replaced in the near future. Also, I found documentation that there are more than 11 persons buried in the Circle C Cemetery. There are, I'll put it in quotes, many field stones located in the cemetery also. I found documentation from 1876 that showed this. And the West Milton Cemetery has now been listed as abandoned on by the New York State Cemetery Board, as it has no longer a cemetery association or trustees to care for it. The records will be coming to my office next week. The Saratoga County History Roundtable is having in-person meetings now, and they are also being broadcasted on Facebook Live. Feel free to attend any of the programs. They're usually well advertised in the paper and on the Brookside Facebook page. I attended the 20th anniversary the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 ceremony in the village of Olson Spa on September 11th. It was very nicely done. Frank Rossi Jr. Videotaped it, and it has been circulating on Facebook for those of you who have missed it. We should never forget. It was mentioned that 9/11 is not currently part of the New York State history curriculum, and I think that needs to change. Brookside also created a 9/11 pop-up exhibit to commemorate the event, complete with artifacts, etc. I went to see that over the weekend. Saratoga County History Center, Brookside, will be having what they're calling the Great Saratoga Museum Treasure Hunt that will be happening this weekend, September 25th and 26th, and where participants will receive passports that will be listing items in each of 12 different museums around the county. And each passport costs $5 per carload of people and can be purchased at Brookside and the Park Bentley Place in South Glens Falls. The Waterford Historical Museum and Cultural Center, or the Kinnear Museum in Lake Luzerne. There's 12 sites to visit over the course of the weekend, and it sounds like a lot of fun. The Saratoga County History Center, in partnership with Saratoga History Roundtable, County Roundtable, is publishing a new book entitled Saratoga County Stories, which is a collection of all the weekly stories that have been in the local papers over the past year and a half. I wrote 2 stories for this book, and the History Center is planning 2 in-person launch events for the book. The first is Saturday, October 23rd, from 2 to 5 at Brookside, and Sunday, November 7th, from 2 to 4 at Historic Rooms Tavern. You can meet the writers, the editorial team, and purchase the book, and have some authors sign their stories. That would make a great holiday gift. Last week, I attended the Association of Public Historians of New York State annual meeting that was held in Oswego, New York. I attended virtually, and it was a great conference. The biggest thing that came out of it is how New York State is planning to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution. There's a bill sitting on the governor's desk that has been approved by the Assembly and Senate that creates the State Anniversary Commission with $50,000 of startup money. Celebrating in the state will start in 2025 and last through 2033, as that's when the last battles were. Our county historian, Lauren Roberts, reported that at the July County Board of Supervisors meeting, they approved the resolution to create a commission for this on the county level. We will be doing this also for our town, so we can become a certified celebration town, which will make us eligible for many grants that will be coming as this unfolds. This celebration will be a big deal, and there already has been a lot of planning done on the federal level, which will oversee the state, county, and town levels. On July 4th, 2026, they are planning to celebrate on a large scale in New York City, Boston, Philadelphia, and Charleston, South Carolina. There will also be more to report on this as well as that unfolds. But there's going to be 4 simultaneous celebrations in one day. So I think the news media is going to have quite a job on that day. Anyway, we'll also need many volunteers at the local level to be part of our commission and to help out with however we decide we're going to celebrate in our town. Our community has people that are very gifted in many ways and have talents that can make this a very unique celebration. So please consider being part of it. And as I'm always telling my family, history is always happening. So anyway, respectfully submitted, Karen Stolper's town historian.
Thank you, Karen. Clerk and the registrar.
All right. So for the month of August, we had 13 marriages, 16 certified marriage certificates, 40 certified death certificates, 8 FOIL in search of records requests, 153 dog licensing, 33 online dog licensing, 138 hunting and fishing, and 3 pavilion rentals, for a town share of $3,479.50.
Thank you. Town Justice Report for the month of August. Charges received was 96, charges disposed was 134. Total money collected and remitted to the state comptroller in fines was $3,896. Surcharges were $4,467. Civil fees were $1,319 for a grand total of $9,682. The committees at the county had a very light month. We didn't have any committee. My committee did not meet this month. Under old business, I think I've spoken to Jim, and we've looked at the agreement that we had with CDTA for the parking lot, the parking ride. I think we've addressed your issues there, Mr. Isakson, on what we need to do to notify the CDTA. At this time, I would like to move forward a motion to sell 2 acres of land with the exact dimensions and degrees to be figured out at a later date, but 2 acres of land to the emergency corps for the purpose of reestablishing or establishing a footprint here in town for the price of $100,000. I'll entertain that motion.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, John.
Well, 100,000, what were the appraisals on that property?
They were about $100,000 an acre.
And what are we going for?
That was 2 acres that we had the 200,000
Yes.
on?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry,
No,
go ahead.
I haven't heard much about it. Can you tell me?
The ambulance corps is proposing to move up across from the firehouse. They're looking for 2 acres of land. It's been estimated to be between $200,000 and $240,000, but the ambulance corps can't afford that. They'll just pass that cost on to the residents anyway because the ambulance, the emergency corps is funded through a pass-through tax. I think they provide an excellent service to the town. I don't, and its residents. Can I finish, please? Thank you. I just think it's a service that the town needs and its residents deserve, and I think that's a fair price.
That's a specific thing that we want. No, it's for one purpose only.
It's just for the ambulance corps, yes.
Can't you just give them the property?
No, we cannot give them property.
Sell it to them for $1?
Can't do that
No, we
either.
can't do that, but can we even legally sell it for under the appraised value?
We can.
Jim, can you answer the question, please?
New York Constitution says we have to get fair market value for the property.
So we have to have the 200. Thank you.
So you have to have something to back up the reasonableness of the $100,000 figure.
Because I won't vote on anything that's going to break that rule at this point. I mean, I think it's a good idea. I think it should be there. I think it'd be an asset to the town, but I also think we have to follow procedure.
I don't see, I've had this discussion, many discussions with Mr. Otten. Cards on the table, if someone wants to take the town to court for violating the law and not selling the ambulance, not selling their property to the ambulance corps for the correct price or what we think is a fair market value, I think fair market value to a nonprofit group that provides services to all the residents in the town, I believe personally $100,000 is a fair price. If the board doesn't agree with me, if the board does not agree with me when we take the vote, then we can set a price and let the chips fall where they may.
We've had 2 appraisals at 100,000 per acre. So
So you're going to vote no?
I don't think we can legally vote yes on it. Am I correct, Jim?
We're selling the property, we get to determine what fair market value is. If we want to sell a piece of property for $100,000, we get to sell it for $100,000.
Wow.
Mr. Frederick, just a matter of process. Tonight, your vote would be to authorize me to draw up a contract and draw up a resolution that you would pass in a subsequent meeting. And just, again, we do not get to choose what fair market value is. That would come up to expert testimony, which is what the appraisals were for. For us to just pick and choose what we think fair market value is, and don't get me wrong, I want to see the ambulance corps get here just like anyone else, and I want to see them get a great deal, but unfortunately, the New York State Constitution says to sell it for less than fair market value would be an illegal gift. And the resolution that we pass will be subject to a permissive referendum. And that's all I have to say.
If you want a motion that for us to authorize the sale, I have no issue with that. I don't want a price set on it until we come to that conclusion and we know everything is where it should be when we do the resolution. Because like I said, I think it would be a great addition to our community.
I guess I have a couple things to say.
First, if we rely on New York State to tell us how to budget things, we're in pretty bad shape. We're talking about the same taxpayer dollars that are going from the emergency corps to us. Those are your taxpayer dollars. We aren't really getting a benefit out of this. What I think we are doing by selling it for $100,000, we are investing in the community emergency corps to encourage them to move to this site because it will provide a better service to our town. It will eliminate a heck of a lot of drive time off of the northern part of our town and the western part of our town. It puts them in a better location.
And Greenfield and Corinth and.
I don't care
Well,
about
I'm just saying,
Greenfield and
it's
Corinth.
more central.
What they did,
You're right.
to be honest with you, Barb, they took the town of Milton, they took their calls, and they drew a radius around where the most calls were, in the town of Milton. That's where it came, is up here. And if we can't, as a town, invest in that, I think we're being pretty poor off. I don't know how the county did it. When the fire district needed 2 acres over here on the airport, we didn't pay a dime. But unfortunately, we're going to get hung up on getting $200,000 from the emergency corps, which is all it's going to do is come this year budget time. They're going to raise their budget by $20,000, so we're paying. You people are going to pay $20,000 for them to give us $20,000. Does that make sense to anybody?
I think we need more discussion, and I think we have to listen to our legal counsel.
Fine, then I'll amend the motion to allow or to permit Jim to begin negotiations with the ambulance corps. I do have to agree with John, though, they're just gonna pass, they're gonna come back next year or this year at budget time and say, okay, you wanna charge us $200,000? We're gonna add $50,000 or $60,000 a year for the next 5 years to the ambulance budget. It's
And
gonna
if
come
we-
back,
if we
it's gonna
approve
come
their-
back to all, it's gonna come back to all the residents anyway.
If we approve their budget 100%. So.
Are you saying you're thinking about cutting the ambulance corps budget?
No, I'm not saying.
You just said if we
I'm
approve
just
it,
saying I won't break the New York State law until we have a definite decision on how we have to do this. I think it's not on the agenda, is it? We just have an emergency quarrels, the whole business. I didn't realize it was going to be put out as a vote. And I have talked to Jim about it. I thought I had the wrong figures. I thought you gave us the wrong figures because I had the appraisals in front of me. So let's have more discussion and have Jim draw something up that the resolution or negotiations or whatever we need.
So the motion then will be that we enter into a contract to sell Community Emergency Corps 2 acres.
on Geyser Road.
On Geyser.
You guys know, yeah, I have no issue with that. No issue.
That's my motion.
I'll second that motion, John. Any further discussion? Brenda, pull the board, please.
Councilman Blaisdell.
I'd like to hear a little more information. It's a note right now.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Okay, as long as this is just for Jim to come up with the information in the contract, I'll vote yes.
Councilman Frolich.
Yes.
Councilman Saxon.
So, just to be clear on what we're saying, because Benny, you said to enter into negotiations. That
No,
Jim-
John amended the motion, it's just for Jim to, it's what Mr. Frolich just stated.
So without including a dollar figure?
Yes.
This time? Yes.
Supervisor Zalati.
Yes. Once again, under old business, we received a letter yesterday or today from the Highway Department with their budget request, and they are once again requesting action on the gas island, so I'm going to bring it up again. I want to move forward with the project of the gas island installation. I'm looking for a motion to approve MJ to begin their work on installation and setup of the gas island that needs to be done.
We have a proposal from MJ?
We do.
How much is it for?
I believe I gave it to everybody a few months back. It's about $36,000, I believe. I can find it tomorrow and send it back to everyone.
Yeah, I don't think we need to vote on it tonight, do we?
Not if you don't want to. Dave's asked for it again. If you don't want to?
I'm a little nervous about starting a project here in almost October, well, because we're gonna get into winter conditions, which cost more money.
There's over $600,000 put aside for a cold storage building in the gas island.
I know that, but that doesn't mean we want to spend it for winter conditions.
And like I stated before, I'd like to see our town hall major project completed before we jump into another one. I'm all for it. I know that gas island has to be moved. I've talked to Jason about it and how it's going to be done in the above ground tanks and so on, but I'm a little afraid of going into another major project until we have ours completed.
And you don't think the town can handle two projects at the same time?
Not the way town hall has been handled, no.
Fair enough. The town board is refusing to move forward on the gas island project. Anything under new business? Seeing none, we'll move on to the closing public comment section of the evening. Anybody have anything they'd like to say? Raise your hand on Zoom. Mrs. Licata.
Cheryl Licata, 4 As you know, we're very opposed to expansion of the airport. And recently, a video surfaced on YouTube of a major renovation plan for the terminal and surrounding area. I know that I forwarded it to Benny Zlotnick for the county meeting yesterday. I realized there were no committee meetings, Benny, but there was a county meeting, and I kind of wish that you would report on that county meeting, because that really affects us, what's going on here. In the meantime, I would like Matt Veach to step up and take responsibility for what happened. I want to know who commissioned that. That had to be an expensive little video to make, and who's spearheading that project. I know they're looking for some grant money, and they're looking for a way to spend grant money, but if you all would get a chance to take a look at that video, you will see why we have been so concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Licata.
I wish the lady from MJ was still here. That video was not made public, and I'd like to know why. Certain people only could see that. If you type it in physically, it's very, very hard to find. So I think MJ should put it out there public. If somebody opened the door, letting the cat out of the bag. If they're gonna make those reservations over there, look at expand the airport the next time.
I don't think it was done by MJ, though.
No,
Yeah.
McFarland Johnson.
McFarland Johnson, sorry. McFarland
That's
Johnson,
still,
sorry.
that's
McFarland
still
Johnson.
MJ. McFarland Johnson's still MJ.
They put it, and it's very
What I'm
hard.
saying is that she wouldn't know anything.
No, I'm
about
sorry.
this or not.
But it should be made public. It shouldn't be hard to find. I don't know why they're hiding it or why they didn't put it out there. Or why you people didn't know anything about it. So maybe you could find out from Matt Veach and get a straight answer and not a lie. Because they've lied to us a lot in the past. And you know that, I've got notes from the last master plan, how they sat in there and they lied to us. So find out about that video. I think it's important to everybody out here to see what they want to do. Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Cannell.
again, trust me, you won't need much of a microphone from me. One of the things that I was listening to is all these things of money that are spending and things that you don't want to spend on and everything. I just want you to know that John Olenek and I, as insurance professionals, are going to meet with Jim and Benny tomorrow morning to see if we can do something about this denial of the insurance claim that was done for the town. I don't expect us to win much, or even to get much of anything, but we sure want to do some negotiation, and we think we probably can, because we went through all of the different policies, and between the two of us, we've got 80 years worth of insurance experience, so we've dug in and tried to find different things. And we have found some things that may or may not help us in this. Also, on other things, I love having presentations at these meetings. They're fantastic. But what I don't like is when I'm sitting over there and I can't hear anyone. That's the first thing I don't like. I also like to see in a presentation charts, costs, things that are actual visual things. And there's no reason why somebody should stand here and talk directly to this group, and all of us out here don't have a clue what they're talking about because we don't see any visual aids. We don't see anything. You guys all know in advance some of these things, but we don't. It's our money. We got to fix this. Also, if people don't know how to speak in public, learn. Learn how to speak in public. Stand up and let yourself be heard. Open your mouth, project. All of you. You people have to project. You have to use your microphones. You folks that are standing up here, you've got to learn to project and get those voices out so everybody in the whole place can hear.
What'd you say?
One for you. So, but it really is something that we have to do. I mean, I'm very interested in what's going on because, of course, it's my money. I've been here for 55 years.
1 minute.
Okay, good. Thank you. But it's one of those things where, you know, we need to know. And we need to know by visual aids, and we need to know by clear speaking. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Batty.
Yes, thanks for getting back to me. I just was curious where we go from here on the issues of the gunshots and the bullets. You know, I'm kind of new to this process. I don't know how we would get it on the board agenda. I don't know what you do with this information, so if you fill us in a little bit, like what you will do after hearing this tonight. And also, I just kind of see it as an opportunity right now. You know, I'm sure everybody's got the same concerns, and I'm sure the board is concerned for the community's safety. The community's obviously concerned about it, and I'm sure the gun club itself is also concerned about safety. So it seems like it's an opportunity to kind of get, you know, 3 groups talking together to try to resolve a situation like this. And I'm curious how that, you know, who puts that together? How do we go from here, I guess, if we need to see some action on this issue? Looking for advice, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I think, Benny, we're just gonna wait until the sheriff's investigation
Yeah,
to make sure that
yeah.
we're
I
headed in the right direction.
I spoke to the sheriff yesterday at the county board meeting. He's aware of the situation. There's an investigation going on. When the investigation is complete, they will get in touch with me as to what their conclusions were, and I can reach out to the gun club. Well, I'll reach out to us first, obviously, gun club and the neighbors, and we'll see what, if any, needs to be done as a result of their investigation. Obviously, the safety of our residents is a primary concern, as is the viability of the gun club. So the gun club has been a very good neighbor. When those first projects went in, they asked for some things, and we asked them to do some things, and they did them. So I think we'll let this investigation come to a conclusion, and then with those results, we can, you know, move forward for a resolution. Anyone else? Mr. Bogosian.
Speak up.
I'll try to project.
Good, thank you.
Mr. Supervisor, when you took your oath of office, I believe you swore to uphold the Constitution of the state of New York. I see tonight you're very willing to violate that oath and violate the Constitution, as explained to you by Mr. Craig, for expedience sake. I think the use of having the ambulance corps there is a great use, but there's a process and there are laws. Now I understand why you don't care about Transportation Corporation law. You're just willing to violate the New York State Constitution willy-nilly to get what you want. Maybe you ought to think outside of the box a little bit. Maybe you ought to think, period. Is it possible, Mr. Craig, to provide the ambulance corps with a long-term lease? Is that legal? Is that constitutional? Could we provide them with a 50-year lease or a 99-year lease that they could then gain financing or whatever they needed to do? Is that within our scope? Can we do it?
Public comment, so I don't want to get into a question and answer, but just real quick, Bruce. I looked into that, and the concept of a long-term lease from a municipality is probably a no-go as well.
Okay, all right, it's just an idea. I really just wanted to talk about the sewer issue. It's probably quite a surprise to everybody. But tonight you approve, I believe you approved the sewer connection, the new grinder pump and connection in the Heritage Springs. How do you propose to do that work because you don't have a permit? And according to your own resolution, your town's resolution, I think number 4 of 2012, you need to have a permit. Prior to getting a permit, and part of getting a permit, is to pay the connection fees. Does anybody know what the connection fees for the town hall, the town court, and the highway garage will be? I didn't think so. I really didn't think you would have a clue.
1 minute, sir.
I think I have more time than that.
No, sir, you don't.
But you have 5 bathrooms, so you have a minimum of 10 ERUs, just so you know. And for your engineer to get up and say there's no way to calculate it, this is the scale of charges that's available to anybody. So an uneducated person like myself, who didn't go to engineering school, can quickly figure it out. You charge 2 ERUs per bathroom. You have 5 of them. At a minimum, you have approximately 26,000 square feet, and based on how that square footage allocated is a 1/10 of a gallon per square foot. Bottom line is you're going to have between 10 and 13 ERUs. That's between $20,000 and $26,000 you have to pay to receive the permit. Now you have to add in, you are in violation of New York State law, so that fee is supposed to be reviewed every 5 years. You haven't done it.
And your time is up. Thank you, sir.
So that fee is essentially illegal.
Thank you, sir. Your time is up.
Question to the board is,
Moving
are
on.
you going to commit
Mr.
taxpayer
Bogosian, your time
dollars
is up.
to an essentially illegal fee?
I'm sorry, public comment is now closed. In addressing Mrs. Licata's question with the video, I have spoken to Mr. Veach. McFarland Johnson put that video together, as I explained in my email to you, Sharon, as a artist rendering of what could happen if the grant money that the county is considering applying for was used. He told me he doesn't know how the video got out there.
Who paid for it?
Did you hear me?
The county paid for it. It was part of the county funding for the project.
Who ordered it? I mean, somebody had to call them on the phone and say, can you know...
I would imagine as chair of the Buildings and Grounds Committee, it was Mr. Veach.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Why did he not know about it then?
He didn't say he didn't know about it. He said he didn't know who leaked it. I don't know if he's... Sharon, I can only tell you what people tell me. If they're lying to me, then they're lying to me.
They're lying to everybody. That's the
Well,
point.
unfortunately, Mr. Licata, I can't call people, I can't go to a meeting and call someone a liar without any proof of it.
We just said he didn't know about it, but they're paying for it. That don't make sense.
You need more answers.
Will you address my concerns like you addressed the Licatas?
No, sir, I won't.
Or are you?
Sorry, Bruce.
Anybody else?
Next time, give Frank some gas.
Motion to adjourn, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. No, I'm sorry. Mr. Bogosian couldn't follow the rules. Public comment is closed for the evening.
Oh.
I'd like to hear what she's got to say.
I like
3
to hear-
minutes, Mrs. Judah, 3 minutes.
It won't take that long.
I'd like to hear more what he's got to, the Bogosian has to say. It's pretty interesting.
Hi, Michelle
He doesn't want to hear it.
34 Van Tassel Lane. I just wanted to comment because I'm here tonight, and I say this sometimes from the Zoom. This was one of the meetings where we had the department reports. I appreciate that the financials are filed, but it is really important that we hear some summary as members of the public. Again, it is our money that's being spent. There should be some summary that's offered. You know, are things on forecast? Are they not? Something that puts this into language that the public can understand and also demonstrates that the board understands. I was also very concerned. I've mentioned about the audit. I've asked about the audits. Understood that the 2020 audit was not done, which made sense. 2020 was a very unusual year, but I didn't realize that it hadn't even been started. And I think it was the last meeting where you approved an auditor, one of the last few. So I didn't know that it hadn't been started. And again, the public needs to be kept informed as to what's going on with those audits, and we should be hearing from the controller in regards to that. There's been a history of difficult audits and problems with the audits. We need to hear about that, the same as we need to hear about buildings and grounds and the historian report. There should be a fiscal report that is presented to the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Otten.
Oh, is public comment back open?
It is for you, Ray. It is for you.
All right, I need first of all, I need a question answered. When are our budgets that we turn into the town of Milton due, our budget requests? What is the latest I can have those in, because I think I'm going to have to make some changes in what my tentative was, based on the conversations tonight.
The 20th, Ray.
I'm sorry, the 20th?
Yep.
Of September.
So that's already passed. Okay. Secondly, Councilman Kerr made a comment pertaining to our area of coverage, and she happened to mention the town of Greenfield and the town of Corinth. I don't know if that was a concern of hers that we're going to go into those areas, but as a matter of fact, the town of Greenfield is establishing their own ambulance company and will not need our coverage up there anymore. The reason we want to move up to Geyser Road is because that is the center of our call volume. Has nothing to do with the town of Greenfield or the town of Corinth. And if she had any questions like that, I would prefer she came to me with those questions. Thank you for the time.
I want to comment on this, Ray. I was going by when you spoke to us before, and you said you were extending that far. And one of the reasons I think it was thought it was a good idea to be here, because you're actually closer to those locations than coming up out of the village. So that's all that was meant by it, because you had mentioned those towns.
I don't think they've ever gone to Corinth.
What is it he touched? Yeah, he touched on Corinth.
Greenfield.
Well, you have to go if you have to.
Not true.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to adjourn, please.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Brenda, pull the board, please.
Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isakson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalatni.
Yes. Thank you. Good night. May your God bless you.